Good afternoon, viewers. This is, I believe, our sixth formal recording. It's going to be a little different than some of our former because we're going to be showing some maps to try to give a perspective. But of course, we have Dr. Bogdan Kotnis here, who's going to make this presentation and keep us all aware, make us all aware of what probably most of us don't know about European history. Hopefully, it'll put a perspective on the interviews that we've had and that we will have. So, welcome, Dr. Kotnis. We really appreciate your taking the time to give us a little more illumination on the situation in Europe and the Polish perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Robert Terzian, or Bob. Thanks, Bob, and welcome to all the viewers. Let's do it.
So we've covered a lot of ground where we've talked about the historical perspective of Poland dealing with Russia. And we've talked about Russian aggression, and we've talked about NATO and its role. What I'm hoping you can do today is show us some maps and give us a perspective on the way Poland has evolved to shape its perspective, and also how Poland's relationship to NATO is so vital. And I don't know how many questions I'll ask you along the way because I expect you to give us a pretty thorough, and I don't want to be interrupting you all the time.
I'm going to start real quick. I'm going to show you a map here that I copied from a book published by our first ambassador, the United States ambassador to Poland after World War II, Arthur Bliss Lane. And he has this nifty map. He shows how Russia was gobbling up Poland. And you see on this map, it started in 67. And the first kind of like step was the center of Poland said, they're crazy, let them have it. So it was kind of like an appeasement kind of a deal. And then they gobbled another portion in 1772. And then they gobbled another portion in 1921. And then they gobbled it all. I mean, they took half, Germans took the other half. So look at this map, because I think this map shows you clearly why we are aware of what the Russians are capable of. And with each annexation, there were untold atrocities and murders, sometimes up to 30, 40% of the population, and sending people all the way to Siberia all the time. It was like a given. So Arthur Bliss Lane was there from the beginning. He arrived in Warsaw. It was all demolished. There was one hotel standing. And the Polish government, run by the Russians, there was a group of communists that the Russians brought in, did one thing. For example, they set it up so that the American embassy employees couldn't even afford eating, buying food in a restaurant. They were relying on canned food because the exchange rate was ridiculous. But Arthur Bliss Lane held his post for 2 years. He was pushing for Poland to have an open, free election. And of course, the election was rigged. And in 1947, Arthur Bliss Lane resigned his post in protests against the elections. We see the same today, whether it's Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, wherever you look, they use the same strategy. So that's kind of like the beginning. But the key is NATO. And we look at NATO, and it's so many countries, and we think there is one solid block. And I just wanted to run you through how the NATO started, where we are, and it is not such a solid block. It might look for people who don't pay attention. So is it okay?
Absolutely. Let's map on Poland. And
okay. So here we are. Let me just play around a little bit. Okay, so this is a map of Europe. All this stuff around here. So what I'll do is I'm just going to light up the names of the countries. So this is what we have right now. That's how Europe looks like. And one big elephant in the tub, pushing on it, pressing on it, is Russia. This is the situation with Europe and this big giant Russia here looming over it. And I wanted to just walk you through what the Russians did during and after World War II. So remember, they started gobbling up country after country. So at the start of World War II, the aim was Poland. And eventually they conquered Poland and divided it into two spheres between Germany and Russia. But in the process, starting from 1939, they started just basically annexing country after country after country. And what happened eventually, they gobbled up all this. They gobbled up Austria, and then Austria got a little lucky because Germans decided they're going to withdraw from Austria. But what happened was in Germany, we started moving from the west up to the east and stopped the Russians about the middle of Germany. So Germany was divided. And I would like you to look at this additional map right now, because this is the situation with the names of the countries the way it was in 1945. So just check it out. So you will see where Russia was at that time. And now we'll return to this interactive map and move on. So 1945, Russians are strong, they're pushing, we're trying to stop them. And there is this idea about creating an alliance to stop the Russians and control Germans who are still dangerous after World War II. 12 countries decided that they're going to start NATO. And of course, the driving force was the United States, there was Canada. But in Europe, there were 10 countries, the United Kingdom, France. Then we had this tiny little country of Luxembourg, with Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Portugal, and Italy. So this is the initial, and Iceland. So this is the initial 10 countries in 1949. And then rather quickly in 1952, Greece joined and Turkey joined. And then in 1955, West Germany joined NATO. But I'm still going to leave it checkered because it's still not the country that we know today. It was a different setup. Now, 1982, Spain joined joined NATO, and then something substantial happened, and we keep on forgetting it. We present it in a very strange way, but basically, what happened in 1989 was critical. It is Poland gained independence. And remember the Solidarity movement, Lech Wałęsa, the Polish Pope, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and astute American strategies in Washington. So as the outcome of that 1989 unbelievable success, nobody believed in it, me included. I was in Poland, and I just couldn't believe what happened. But that caused a domino effect. So because of the liberation and because of the continuous struggle of Poland, Germany got liberated. And then, when they got liberated, of course, the whole of Germany then was a part of NATO. But the domino effect moved on, especially after 1991, where the Soviet Union collapsed. So we have Ukraine, Belarus, but we also have Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia liberated, and then it just goes on. So we have Czechia, Slovakia, and on and on and on. These countries gain independence from Russia. And this is the situation. After, again, 1989 and 1991, time goes by quickly, and additional countries join NATO. So 1999, we have Poland join NATO, Czechia join NATO, and Hungary. And then the 2004 is a big addition. We're talking about 7 additional countries. So the critical here is Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and also we have Romania and Bulgaria. But also we have Slovakia and Slovenia join NATO in 1999. And then Russia hits back. And again, we have perestroika, but their system that has never been penetrated is alive and well. So what they do, they first of all, they put Lukashenko as a ruler of Belarus. They start their meddling in Ukraine big time. And also, they attack and influence what's going on in Georgia. But before all this, the first thing they hit was Moldova, and they hacked away a little portion of Moldova to the east, eastern portion of Moldova, and called it Transnistria. So this Moldova, Kaliningrad, is a nice setup to kind of like push down south and west. But NATO still continues developing. So we have new countries joining NATO, and we're talking about cleaning up here the map. So we have Albania, and we have Croatia joining NATO into 2009. And then Russia attacks Ukraine in 2014. And NATO still continues developing. So in 2017, we have Montenegro join NATO. And 2020, we have North Macedonia. And then what happens is Russia attacks even more strongly. So we have the famous 2022 Russians attack Ukraine. So the situation changes. They're not like influencing and playing around the corners, but they start bombing everything in Ukraine. And at the same time, right away, Poland says, "No way, we're not gonna just stand by. It's getting more and more dangerous. It's an existential threat to Poland because you see Russians are pushing from Belarus, they're pushing from Ukraine, and they're not stopping." And very quickly, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia join Poland. But at the same time, when you look at the cohesion of NATO, you have Germany. And the Germans say, maybe we should just let Russians do whatever they want. The deal with gas and oil is good, so let's just keep it this way. And they're convincing France to join them. So you have this blue against green, kind of like two teams within the structures of NATO. It continues like this, convincing the countries to join, get serious. And then 2023, last year, major development. Finland joins NATO. And this year, 2024, Sweden joins NATO. And then both of these countries, right away, they say, we're here to get serious. So they kind of like join the blue team. So look, that the balance of power kind of changes a little bit. It's not only isolated Poland saying, for God's sakes, help us out because it's getting serious. So The blue team also encompasses Romania, and Bulgaria is kind of like a strange weak state, but I think that if need be, we can count and use Bulgaria and classify them in the blue team. And of course, the green team has some moderate support, Hungary, as we know, and Slovakia in the blue team. And then quite recently, another development, France says, wait a minute, we don't like what we see in Africa, that the Russians are doing, so we're joining the blue team. We want to really get engaged and stop Russians in Ukraine. And also on the blue team, we have Norway and Denmark. So you see that the Baltic Sea is all surrounded by the blue team. And quite honestly, if we in the United States understand what's going on here, and we invest in Poland and help them out, gain the military muscle, and also their economy has to develop. Because, you know, right now, the German economy to Polish economy is about like 1-4. So Germans have time and they can just wait. And when Poland's going to start buying equipment, they're just going to get in debt, and eventually, economically, Germany is going to control Poland. But if Poland stands up on its feet and it continues the way it does right now, with the support of Finland and Sweden, it's a very powerful bloc. And I think that we can even, if Poland gets this lead role or is a little bit better recognized, and it has the means, not only the promises and the ambitions, I think Turkey is at play. Because, you know, Turks have problems with Germans. There is a big Turkish diaspora in Germany, and there is a tension between Germany and Turkey. But I believe that when Poland mediates, Turkey is also could be in the blue team. So look at that map right now. Germany looks kind of like isolated, doesn't it? And then Polish economy is booming. German's economy is stalling. So what I'm saying, let's look at NATO not as a static bloc that has been there forever, but as an ever evolving coalition of countries. And I think that if we look at the trends and draw the right conclusions, it's the time to really put Poland around the table and kind of like Poland and Germany work together, but as equals and not as senior and junior partner. And I think that this would really be beneficial for everyone in Europe and in the United States.
Helps visualize how the countries align themselves, and gives us a little historical background for their joining. I noticed that in 2022, when the Nord Stream was destroyed, that Germany was actually put in a delicate situation, and they sort of switched from importing oil or natural gas from Russia to getting it from Norway. And that would seemingly mean that the Germans are even much more now aligned with those blue states than they might have seemed earlier on, up till 2022.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we can tell our viewers a secret that the next interview is going to be analyzing German and French mistakes, strategic mistakes. And I think it's time for them to really adjust. And Germans, of course, had to pay because they invested in those energies in Russia. They also had about 3,500 businesses opened in Russia. So not all those businesses are doing great today. So the German economy feels the heat. But again, had they listened to Poland before, they would not have been in that pickle today.
Well, thank you, Bogdan. I think our time's about up, and I appreciate once again your describing the situation in Europe, and we look forward to our next interview. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Please stay with us. We hope
Thank you.
You're learning something, and please give us your comments and suggestions and questions.
Thank you, and see you soon. Goodbye.